So this is the Matsu Valley bandwidth problem, and I'm Quinton Odenthal. Let's get into it. So overview. So in the introduction, I'm going to talk about the problem and the background to the problem, and stuff like that. Sorry. And then in the methods, I'm going to talk about how I gathered data, how I created the survey, how the survey polling went, and how I created the recommendation criteria, which is 3 questions that I would use to make my recommendations based on the information I got from the surveys and stuff. And then we go over the results research, which goes over the answers to the survey questions that were about the 3 criteria questions that related to them. And then I had some demographic questions. Then the discussion where we answer the criteria questions using the information from the survey in my research. And then we go over our conclusions of what we found by answering them. And then we make recommendations using the criteria question answers and stuff like that. And then my references and contact information. There we go. Introduction. Problem. Alaska's internet quality is lacking. It's pretty bad compared to the lower 48 here. Wassila's average is 12 megabytes per second versus the national average of 50.2, so that's like 24%. And that's not very good. It's a little bit better in Anchorage at 27.9, but that's not much better. But where the real problem is in rural Alaska, where it's really bad. In Bethel, the max speed you can purchase is 6 megabytes per second for your house. And that's really bad when you're sharing it with anyone else. When you're solo, maybe that's pretty good, but when you have a family, that's not very usable. Methods. Data gathering. So, started with some research. I tried to find other reports about the internet quality in Alaska. And I found 3. One of them was relating to like schools and stuff like that. Pretty good. And then I made a survey asking about a couple of points that I wanted to have information about and stuff like that. Sorry. And I got 19 responses to that survey. And then I interpreted the data that I got from the surveys using the criteria questions that I made to make the recommendations. So creating the survey, I asked 2 questions, or I asked 1 question. What do I want to know? And I came up with 2 answers. I wanted to know the user's opinion about their internet service, what they felt about it, what problems they had with it, stuff like that. And I wanted to know the likelihood that they'd purchase or pay for a higher end plan, or maybe their likelihood to go for a cheaper plan if available, stuff like that. So the survey polling, I made the survey using surveymonkey.com, which made it easy to make and share to my family and friends, and they shared it to the people they knew. And then after 2 days, I got 19 responses. So recommendation criteria. This is how I made. These are the recommendation the questions that I was going to use to make my recommendations using the data from the survey. So the first question I came up with was, do people want or need better internet quality? Is it even a problem? Is it just a me thing, or do other people have a need or a want? And second question, would people pay for a better internet service plan if they're available? So if you made better internet, would they even go for it? And then third question is, do people have a problem with the current bandwidth situation? Do they have grievances with it? Do they have problems with it? Stuff like that. So results research. So these are the questions on the survey relating to criteria question 1. So the first question I asked was, are you satisfied with your current service plan? Where 8 people said no, and 11 people said yes. So most people are satisfied, they have enough, or something like that. Sorry. Do you use your home internet for work or school? 15 said yes and 4 said no. So a lot of people are using their home internet for work or school stuff, which kind of makes sense in these pandemic times, but at other times it might be a little lower. It'd probably definitely be a little lower. But right now, most people are using it for work or school. So these are the questions relating to criteria question 2. Do you use the best internet service plan available to you? 12 said yes, 7 said no. So most people are using the best thing they can right now. And then the next question I asked was, would you be willing to spend more money for an improved service plan? Oops, sorry. And 5 said yes and 9 said no. So most people wouldn't go for a more expensive plan, but they are using the best plan that they can right now. Interesting. Why do you not use the best service plan available to you? Is the third question I asked. So if they weren't using the best plan, why not? 2 people didn't need it. 6 people said it was too expensive. Come on. 2 people said it was out of their control, so maybe they just live in a house where someone else pays for the internet, something like that. 1 person would rather not say. So, there's that. And then these are the questions relating to criteria question 3. Do you experience bandwidth slowdowns during the day or night? 15 said yes and 4 said no. So most people do experience slowdowns at some point, which can be annoying. The second question I asked was, what changes to your internet service plan would you most like to see? 9 people said they wanted to see faster speeds, so faster downloads and uploads and stuff like that. 5 people said they wanted to see lower costs. So maybe a cheaper version of their plan, something like that. 4 people wanted more consistency, so less slowdowns all the time, stuff like that. Makes sense. 1 person wanted more options, which I thought was an interesting take. And then 3 people were content with their service, so they didn't really need any change. Demographic questions. Which internet service provider do you use? 2 people said they use GCI, and 15 people said they use MTA. So most people are using MTA. Which area do you live? 2 people said Palmer, 10 Wasilla, and 5 Middle Lakes, Houston area. And there's only 17 answers to both these questions because I'm pretty sure that 2 of my responses were people that live in Idaho. I don't know why they took the survey, but they did, so 2 of the questions, or 2 of the responses, are kind of useless. But that's the way it goes, I guess. And then I asked, what is your age? 4 people said they were over 65, 2 people 50 to 65, 6 people were 40 to 50, 1 30, and then 5 people were under 20. So pretty good range. Discussion. Answering criteria question 1. Do people want or need better internet quality? So I was going to use the data to answer these questions. So we saw that people use home internet for work or school. That was 15 to 4. So a lot of people are using it for work or school. People also experience slowdowns on occasion. So a lot of people do experience slowdowns. I think that was also 15 to 4. But people were also satisfied. So the slowdowns weren't enough to be like a problem. It was just maybe an annoyance. So they are satisfied. So people don't need better quality per se. They do want it. It's just kind of an annoyance when it slows down, but it's not enough to impede on their work or school stuff. So they don't need it, but they do want it. So that was the answer to that one. Answering question 2, would people pay for a better internet service plan if it were available? So we found that most people cared about price over quality. When I asked what recommendations they would make for like what changes they would want to see, 50% of people wanted to see a lower price. So most people, or half the people, wanted to see more about lower prices than anything else. So it seems to suggest that people wouldn't maybe pay for a better service. They would either stick with the service they had if it got cheaper, or they would search for a plan that was like theirs that got cheaper because of the improved infrastructure, stuff like that. So they would maybe not go for the highest end plan if it were available or something like that. They would just go for what they wanted to pay for. Answering criteria question 3. Do people have a problem with the current bandwidth situation? So like we saw, most people did experience slowdowns. Most people did experience slowdowns. It was 15 to 4. And most people aren't completely happy with their current plan. Only 3 people didn't have a suggestion for what they would want to see changed. So most people do have problems with it. Some people wanted lower prices, other people wanted faster speeds, but most people did have a problem with their current plan. Not everything's all nice. There's still problems, there's still changes they'd like to see, things to be fixed, stuff like that. So people do have a problem. Conclusion. We found that people seem to have no need for better service, just a want. They don't need it, per se. They just want it. People care more about cost than quality. They'd rather see a lower price than faster speeds available, stuff like that. And people do, however, have a problem with their current service. Even though it's not like a need for better, they still have problems with it. It's still annoying. It could be better. It would be nice if it was better, but they don't have a need. But things may change in the near future. Recommendations. Recommendation 1. A more comprehensive study should be performed. I think, well, this report is small in scale and lacking in detail. I only surveyed 19 people. I'm one guy, I can only do so much research, and 2 of my answers to my survey were people from Idaho, so those don't even matter. So it's not exactly comprehensive in any way. So I think that later on, a more comprehensive study should be formed, because the valley is growing fast. Things are going to change. More people will get here, and when more people get here, the problem's going to get worse. Things change quickly, so even if it's not a problem now, not a need now, it might be a need very soon. So I think a more comprehensive study should be formed a little bit later, and it should be a lot better than this one. Recommendation 2. A more attention should be drawn to rural Alaska. When I was doing my secondary research, I found that the internet quality in like schools and stuff in rural Alaska was way worse than it is here. It's actually a problem. Like right here, we just kind of want better internet. It's not exactly a need, but there they actually need it. It's an actual problem. The one report that I found was about the internet quality in schools in rural Alaska, and they're greatly debilitated by their internet speeds. It's like 24%, the national benchmark of what it should be. It's just absolutely awful. It's hard to load a YouTube video. Like, it takes a few minutes. It's greatly debilitating for any internet-related thing that you want to do. So references, oops. Here are my references. Contact information, name, email, fake phone number. I had to voice over the video, so this might be a little bit weird timing and stuff, but